Pai Ling Ki Poti So, who insulted the Ganges and treated it as a little slave. Such bodily and vocal actions are not preceded by knowledge and do not accompany knowledge. The Buddha himself has none of these things. Digression on a case brought against the Buddha. 1. The accusation. Question. So be it. But the Buddha sometimes has physical and vocal actions that do not seem to accompany knowledge. How is that? 1. He goes into the assemblies of heretics to preach the Dharma, but nobody believes him or accepts him. 2. One day when he was preaching the Dharma in the great assembly, he bared his breast and showed it to ni-kien-tseu. 3. When some doubted the two physical marks that were not visible to them, in the middle of the great assembly the Buddha showed the mark of his tongue and the mark of his cryptochidya. 4. He insults his disciples and treats them like foolish men. 5. He insults Devadatta and says to him, "You are a fool, a corpse, a spit swallower." 6. The Buddha forbids the possession of 8 kinds of begging bowls and authorizes the bhiksus to use only 2 kinds of bowls. 1. Fired clay and 2. Iron, but he himself uses a stone bowl. 7. One day when the heretics were questioning him, he remained silent and did not respond. 8. In various places, the Buddha says that the Atman exists and, in other places, he says that it does not exist. 9. In various places he speaks of the existence of dharmas and, in other places, he speaks of the non-existence of dharmas. Such physical and vocal actions do not seem to accompany knowledge, and since physical and vocal actions are inseparable from mental action, the result is that his mental actions, as well, did not accompany knowledge. Then why is it said that his actions always accompany knowledge? 2. The defense. Answer. That does not hold. In all of those circumstances, all of the Buddha's actions were preceded by knowledge and accompanied knowledge. Why is that? A. Meeting with the heretics. Entering into an assembly of heretics, the Buddha knew well that he would not be believed nor accepted in the present lifetime, but he wanted to plant great roots of good for future lifetimes. Moreover, he wanted to put an end to the slander of the heretics who said, "The Buddha is proud." This is the reason why he went personally into their assemblies. Moreover, the heretics said, "The Buddha claims to have great compassion, the same for all, but he preaches the Dharma only to the fourfold Buddhist assembly. And yet we too are religious mendicants who are seeking the path and he does not preach to us." Finally, according to the sutra to which you allude, the Buddha went to an assembly of heretics and preached the Dharma there, but the sutra does not say that nobody believed him and nobody accepted him. Sramana Satya Sutra. Seeing at a distance a great assembly of heretics who were debating in loud voices, the Buddha wanted to go elsewhere and was turning around to leave. The scholars who had seen the Buddha approaching from afar said to their assembly, "Be quiet. The Buddha is a person who likes solitude. If you look quiet and are silent, perhaps he will come here." The assembly maintained silence. The Buddha entered into this assembly and preached the 3 truths of the Brahmanas. The heretic assembly remained silent. The Buddha thought, "These angry people are in Mara Papamat's grasp. This teaching is so wondrous that none of them will try to become my disciple." Having had this thought, the Buddha arose from his seat and went away. But the heretics, free from the grasp of Mara, thought, "We have been able to hear a marvelous Dharma. How can we profit from it?" At once they went to the Buddha, became his disciples, found the path and escaped from suffering. Finally, the disciples of the heretics did not dare to go to the Buddha out of fear of the teachers. This is why the Buddha entered into their assemblies. When they hear the Dharma, their faith is strengthened. They no longer fear the teachers, they become disciples of the Buddha, and sometimes they obtain the traces of the path. It is for all these wise reasons that the Buddha enters into the assemblies of the heretics. B. Display of his breast. Cuda-satyakasutra.moreover, sa-tchö-ki ni-kien-tseu, his breast covered with copper plates, proclaimed, "There is no one who, engaged in debate with me, would not be sweating in streams and would not be defeated. Even a big elephant, a piece of wood, a stone, that would hear my objections, would sweat in streams." Having made this declaration, he went to the Buddha and debated with him. The Buddha questioned him, but Nirgrantha was unable to respond. His sweat flowed until it moistened the ground and his whole body was soaked. The Buddha said to him, "You just said, 'There is no one who, engaged in debate with me, would not be sweating O streams.' Now it is your sweat that is flowing and that moistens the ground. Do you want to examine the Buddha and see if he has any signs of sweat?" Immediately the Buddha took off his upper robe uttarasanga and asked, "Where is the sweat?" However, there are people who say, "It is possible to be sweating on the forehead but the body is not sweating." Although the Buddha does not have a sweaty brow, certainly his body sweats. This is why the Buddha removed his upper robe and showed his body. As a result of this, the heretics directed themselves to the faith and all entered into the Buddha Dharma. Therefore this physical action of the Buddha was in accordance with knowledge. C. Display of his tongue and his cryptochidya. The Buddha showed the mark of his tongue and the mark of his cryptochidya. Some people had doubts about these two marks of the Buddha's body. They should have obtained the path, but because of these doubts, they did not obtain it. This is why the Buddha showed him these two marks. He put out his tongue and covered his whole face with it. Although his tongue was so great, it easily went back into his mouth. Those who saw it had the doubts satisfied. Some people, seeing the Buddha put out his tongue, still had feelings of scorn, for putting out one's tongue is what little children do. But when they saw him withdraw his tongue and preach the Dharma without any difficulty, they felt respect and cried out at the wonder. Some people had doubts about the Buddha's cryptochidya, which is an invisible mark. Then the Buddha created by magic a wondrous elephant or a wondrous stallion and, showing him, he declared, "My cryptochidya is an invisible mark just like that." Some even said that the Buddha made his secret organs come out and showed them to someone to suppress his doubts. Scholars say that, by acting in this way, the Buddha was manifesting his great compassion for, if a man sees the Buddha's cryptochidya, he is able to accumulate the roots of good and produce the thought of anuttarasambodhi. And those who can rejoice greatly and produce a mind of faith and veneration obtain the sight of the Buddha's cryptochidya and cut through the doubts. But other than him, nobody can see it. Out of great compassion and in order to save beings, the Buddha showed himself 3 times in the space of a flash of lightning. And the beings who saw him knew that the Buddha has great compassion and that he really has no blind attachment or prejudice towards the moral precepts. It is for these reasons that the Buddha showed these 2 marks. It was neither out of play nor out of a sense of modesty. D. Insults to the disciples.